Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. I guess it is officially 12:01, and what a joy to be back. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been together at a Lunch and Learn, and it will be a couple of weeks again until we're back at a Lunch and Learn, because next Thursday is the National Day of Prayer. And so if you're coming to hear me speak next week, that has been delayed until June 25th, I believe, is when I'm speaking to this group. But next week, we can go to that slide there, Mark. We've got the National Day of Prayer. That's happening from noon to 1 here at the Eden Prairie campus in our great room. And this is an amazing time every year when we get a chance to pray, not just for our nation, but for our city, for leaders, for the world. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful time. We've got great people who are going to be leading us in that. And so I really want to encourage you to come and be a part of that next week. And then our schedule for the rest of the spring through May is going to come up next. So nothing next week. Jim Lausma will be our speaker 2 weeks from today. Jim had an amazing career with Procter & Gamble and has been a professor at Bethel University in an adjunct way, but he is also somebody who has taken groups of people to the Grand Canyon to hike the Grand Canyon. And I said, Jim, I want you to come and take us to the Grand Canyon with you. I want you to share what that experience is like. He's gonna, it's not gonna be like a travel log, but he's gonna share with you just some of the incredible lessons that he's learned taking hundreds of people over the years to the Grand Canyon on that hike. And so I want to encourage you to come support Jim. And then May 15th, Todd Mulliken will be back with us. Todd has spoken more than any other speaker at Lunch and Learns, and he's gonna be talking about 5 ways to bring out the best in our most significant relationships in life. The summer Lunch and Learn schedule, we're waiting for one final speaker to give us the okay, and we will have that for you hopefully next May 8th. When we're here next time, we'll have a handout for you that will kind of detail what's going to be happening this summer. We have some amazing, amazing speakers that'll be here this summer. So just because it's summer doesn't mean we're taking the whole summer off. We've got some great speakers. We will be meeting less in the summer, though. So I believe it's 6 or 7 times total that we'll be together, and that schedule will be out. It's on our website as well. If this is your first time at a Lunch and Learn, we do these almost every Thursday. The topics are incredibly varied, and you can go to YouTube, you can go to the Family Resource Initiative channel, and I believe there's over 80 Lunch and Learns that are there now with just content from different speakers around a variety of issues. So mental health, parenting, marriage, leadership, you name it, financial stuff, it's there, and it's a resource that we hope will just be a blessing to you. Our speaker today is no stranger to Wooddale Church. Brian Anderson is someone who grew up at Woodale, and didn't just grow up at Woodale. He grew up with a different perspective than maybe a lot of people, because he was like the pastor's kid at Wooddale Church, and so son of Leith Anderson, and just an incredible job. But Brian worked here for a number of years as well. He earned his bachelor's degree in media communications from Bethel University and a graduate degree in public relations from the University of St. Thomas. So Woodale was his church home from the time he was a little boy, dating back to the Richfield days. If you missed our last Lunch and Learn, we had a sports card theme, which is kind of a weird theme. That night, by the way, over 200 people were in this room for the trade night with the speaker that was here. And we shared a story back to Richfield days of when the New York Yankees visited Wooddale Church. So I have this frame in my office with Mickey Mantle and Bobby Richardson. And so, but the Anderson family was just incredibly influential in helping Wooddale kind of capture a vision for, hey, if we're going to grow, we've kind of run out of space in this place. We're going to have to move west. And Eden Prairie was not what Eden Prairie is today. And there was this thought that this area is going to grow, and God needs a church in this community. And took a faithful and obedient step and moved from Richfield to Eden Prairie. Brian served on staff at Wooddale as our outreach coordinator, our communications director. He was the president of Faith Matters, which was a daily radio show here for many years. And he has served as now the executive director at HopeKids Minnesota since 2013. Brian lives in Eden Prairie with his wife, Tammy, their 2 teenage boys, and their yellow lab. He's at a lot of baseball games, too, is what I hear. But HopeKids, if you are unfamiliar with the organization, is an organization that is making an incredible difference in the lives of kids and families who are facing some incredible trials. At my church, and Donovan's family would say the highlight of their month, usually at least once a month, was getting together with the other HopeKids families and the impact that made. And as a pastor with a kid who had a terminal illness, it was just such a beautiful thing to see the way that Brian and his group ministered. So would you welcome back to Wooddale Church, Brian Anderson. Woo-hoo.
Love you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. Yes, this is a little bit of a homecoming for me. I think the campus in Wooddale Church in Richfield had 13 parking spots, so we've grown a little bit by moving here. I'll share a little bit about me. I grew up, as Brian said, at Wooddale Baptist Church at the time in Richfield, and I discovered every little nook and cranny in that building because I was at church an awful lot. And then as these walls were built, I discovered every little nook and cranny here too, phase by phase. I'm curious, since there's a lot of familiar faces here, how many people went to Wooddale Baptist Church in Richfield? Look at that. Nice, amongst friends and family. I love it. So as Brian mentioned, and most of you might know, that my dad is Leith Anderson, and he served as senior pastor here for 35 years. And as you can imagine, as a PK, I probably created a little mischief. I'd tell those stories, but that's probably another lunch and learn. 2 lunch and learns, yeah, right. But I was reminded of one as I came in door 5 here by the gym. I remember probably I was a preteen or teenager. I don't know how old I was, but some partner in crime was with me, and we were challenged with throwing rocks up on top of the roof. And at that age, my arm just wasn't quite strong enough to get it up on the roof, but it was strong enough to break the pane of glass that is sitting out there. And unfortunately, on the other side of that glass was a Board of Elder meeting, where my dad was leading the meeting. And also, unfortunately, he recognized the back of my head and the heels of my feet as I fled the scene, but he was gracious. I don't really actually remember the consequences of those actions, but he was gracious, and no one got hurt. So anyway, I have a lot of history here, and I was very shaped and impacted by the ministry and people here at Wooddale. After graduating from Edina High School and then Bethel College, at the time, it's university now, I moved to California, worked in television for a little bit, and worked my way back home as a good Minnesotan would do, and then back to Wooddale Church, where I led Faith Matters and the communications department. So I have a lot of great memories here as a child and as an adult, and it's good to be back. I also met this lovely woman next to me, Tammy. I'm going to warn you right now, I'm going to get emotional because there's a lot of history here, and the things we talk about are heavy. Whew. So I just get that out now. Sorry, nobody wants to see me cry. But yeah, so Tammy, by the way, is one of the most beautiful women I know, inside and out. We have 2 boys, Haddon and Brady. Haddon's a freshman at the University of Minnesota, and Brady is a baseball player at Eden Prairie. And then my parents are there too. This was taken on Easter Sunday, just a few days ago. And then, of course, my dog was mentioned in there as well. So that's Daisy. She keeps me active. She's our COVID baby. She's almost 5 years old. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm curious, how many people here have actually heard of HopeKids? A couple hands. Okay, good. Well, you're here to learn, so that's good. I think it's appropriate that we're talking about a topic like hope after Holy Week and Easter, and that's just the foundation of hope, and that's kind of the foundation that we build from as well. I'd say some people say that health is the most important thing. If they have their health, they have everything. Some might say happiness is what they strive to have all the time, but I'd say that hope should be on the top of every list, because we can't always be healthy, we can't always be happy all the time, but we can always hold on to hope. Hope is universal. It's something that all of us can understand and experience. Real hope brings light and color to a dark and colorless reality. It's the belief that circumstances in the future will get better. It's not just a wish that things will get better, but an actual belief, even when there's no evidence that things may change. Lewis Smedes wrote a book called Keeping Hope Alive. I recommend to anybody, really. He unpacks the meanings, definitions, and the different facets of hope in very practical ways. And he views hope as the engine of the soul, keeping us moving forward in times of uncertainty, suffering, and brokenness. John Piper defines biblical hope as a mere desire for something good to have, not just as a mere desire as something good to happen. It is a confident expectation and desire for something good in the future. Biblical hope has moral certainty in it. So when the Bible says hope in God, it doesn't mean to cross your fingers, but actually to expect great things from God. For the past 12 years, I've been part of this unique community called HopeKids. It's a place where families come to seek hope. And these are families who are in a situation where the road ahead seems dark, scary, and uncertain. And all these families have the thing in common where their child has a life-threatening medical condition. Each year, approximately 500,000 people in the United States, kids 18 years of age and younger, live with a life-threatening medical condition. So to put that into context, in a little perspective, the U.S. population has about 334 million people. The census reported in 2022 that 72.3 million people in the United States are under the age of 18. So of those 72.3 million people, 500,000 people, kids, cope with a life-threatening medical condition each year. So if my math is correct, it's under 0.7% of the population 18 and under live with a life-threatening medical condition, and even less of the entire population. And as you can see from this graph, it illustrates that you can hardly see that green line. But those folks are there, those kids are there, and those families there, and they need to be seen so that they can be offered hope. I think back to when I was a child, or actually before I even knew about HopeKids. I can remember one person that I knew who would fall into this category. It was an older classman in Edina that had cancer. And so I'm just kind of curious, like, how many people here know of somebody in that population, somebody whose family member has or had a life-threatening medical condition? Yeah, just a show of hands. There's quite a few. All right. I just think it's so important that we surround these families with our love and support. And I think it's great that there's an organization like HopeKids to do that. That's where our laser focus is. Last year, HopeKids Minnesota averaged nearly 3.5 new families per week. So we had a total of 181 new families. These are families who have a newborn with a rare chromosomal abnormality, a 5-month-old baby girl with neuroblastoma, a child with spina bifida or a heart defect like tetralogy of Fallot, a little girl with epilepsy, or a little boy with end-stage renal failure, Batten disease, Rett syndrome, or any child, any age with cancer or some other number of progressive, degenerative, or malignant condition that may jeopardize that child's life. Some of these kids may not even know what they're going through. They're too young, or it's just all they've ever known. They may be babies who are rushed from the delivery room to the operating table for the first of many, many surgeries that they have throughout their lives. For other children, they're seemingly strong, healthy kids until a few years of age when they're not developing like their peers. I remember meeting a family at one of our events at Sea Life Aquarium. It was in 2014, and I actually found a picture of this group that was there. Those folks you can't see them, but they're in the middle holding up the two little boys. The dad is holding them in their arms, but they had just learned that their 7-year-old was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And then they introduced me to their younger son in a stroller and said that he has muscular dystrophy too. Muscular dystrophy is a diagnosis that typically affects males. It leads to muscle degeneration. Over time, he'll have delayed motor skills. By the time he reaches adolescence, he'll most likely be wheelchair dependent. It leads to debilitating orthopedic complications, respiratory failure, heart failure. And this family has spent this child's entire childhood traveling across the country trying to find the best treatment they can for him. This boy's 16 years old now. He has his driver's license. He's doing pretty well, and he gets fatigued easily walking long distances, but the treatment and therapy has actually kind of helped him have a normal life. Other kids may be diagnosed as preteen or teenage years, in their teenage years with cancer, and they know what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. These are treatments that last maybe 3 years, with the first 6 months being the most intense. Instead of going to or participating in high school events, or prom, or just hanging out with their buddies, they're confined to their homes because the germs are too dangerous to go out and to be exposed to, or they're suffering from side effects from chemo or other treatments. These are all hard things to talk about, and they're hard things to think about, but I talk about the statistics and these numbers, and that's fine, but when I talk about these individuals, they all have names and faces to them, and it gets emotional. I feel a lot of empathy towards these families, and although I don't totally understand everything that they're going through, as a dad and a husband, I can imagine how hard that fight must be. I see it all the time too. I know that parents need to be strong when their only response is want to break down and cry. And they need to be there for their children emotionally and spiritually and financially to support them. But sometimes they just don't have enough in the tank. Studies show that more than half of parents suffer from acute stress disorders. Studies indicate that parents and siblings are 50 to 70% more likely to experience mental and physical health issues compared to families who aren't going through such struggles. Another study actually says that it's up to 80% in the siblings. The stress affects relationships at home, friendships at work, or at school, and coworkers at work. As parents navigate their way to best care for their child and their family, major adjustments need to take place. Financially, for some, parents have to quit jobs and they lose out on income and health insurance. These illnesses contribute to 62% of bankruptcy filings each year. The majority of families cut back on leisure activities. The cost and the planning is prohibitive. And nearly half of families cut spending on necessities like food and clothing. And socially, families are impacted as well. Most of us just don't understand what it's like to have a child who's sick, having to go stay in hospitals for months and have treatments for months at a time and years at a time. For some, it's a lifetime of medical treatments. We can only imagine what it's like to have a kid who's sick for a few days or miss a week of school. Due to this lack of understanding, a lot of people tend to withdraw from their relationships, friends and parents alike. So what do you do if that's you or your child? How do you cope? Can you imagine the fear and the isolation that comes from that reality? And where do you find hope? I'm happy to say that there's actually a lot of reason for hope. Medical research has come a long way in the fight against cancer and other life-threatening medical conditions by prolonging the life expectancy in illnesses such as cystic fibrosis, or CF. CF is a genetic condition caused by mutations in the CFTR gene. These mutations disrupt the movement of salt and water across cell membranes, leading to thick, sticky mucus. The mucus clogs the lungs and the pancreas and other organs, causing a range of symptoms and complications. In the 1980s, the life expectancy was 12 years old, and today it's 47. In the past, boys with Duchenne muscular dystrophy lived until their teens, and now some are living into their 40s. And this is staggering. Over the last 40 years, the overall survival rate of children's cancer has increased from 10% to nearly 90% today. So that overall is tremendous progress. And as important as that is, we must remember that there's more to caring for these children and these families while an answer to a cure is found. And that's where HopeKids comes in. We're an organization that exists to restore hope and transform the lives of children with life-threatening medical conditions, their families, and the communities in which we serve. We do this by providing an ongoing calendar of events and activities and a powerful, unique support community for families who have a child with cancer or some other life-threatening medical condition. And we surround these remarkable children with the message that hope is a powerful medicine. Transforming lives and restoring hope, I think, is a tall order, but it's possible, and I see it happening all the time. Every week throughout the year, we offer fun, free, highly anticipated events for our families. We average over 450 events each year. Yes, that's more than 2 a day. This includes tickets to professional sporting events like the Minnesota Wild. We have a couple suites to the Wild playoff game tonight. Go Wild. We have private movie screenings. We do Easter brunch, trunk or treat, sledding, Mother's Day brunch, family portraits, pictures and cookies with Santa, bowling, concerts, ballets, art projects, rock climbing, adaptive water skiing. I'm not going to name them all, but I'm going to name a few more. We do fishing, special Christmas shopping sprees, book clubs, prayer and devotion, and a multitude of other events and activities that create a renewed sense of hope for the future. This creates a distraction from the ongoing schedule of doctor visits, needle pokes, surgeries, and lengthy hospital stays. And we use this calendar of events and activities to create a vehicle of hope to bring people together and to build a lasting and supportive community. Our program is set up to impact families in 5 specific areas. Through hope and anticipation, we focus on the entire family, not just the kid who's sick. We create community and supportive relationships in a safe and accepting environment, and we offer it all for free. One of my favorite stories about hope and anticipation is from 8-year-old Jack at the time. He's always positive and always smiling despite his circumstances, which I think is the definition of joy. He shares that every morning, every morning when he was going through treatment, he'd wake up and run to the family computer, log on to HopeKids calendar to see if there was a new event. And that would give him the hope, anticipation for the future, and give him the strength to continue on. Jack recognizes that his parents and brothers have had to sacrifice a lot for him during this treatment, and we recognize that too as HopeKids. So all of our events are open to the entire family, not just the kid who's sick. And if he can't or she can't go because she's in the hospital or not feeling well or just doesn't want to go, parents can use that as a way to connect with their other kids, or they can use it as a date night to strengthen that relationship. The family is the most important support system for the Hope Kid, and we want to do everything we can to create fun, lasting memories. Studies show that families provide essential emotional support, helping children navigate the challenges of their illness, and that children with strong family support systems tend to exhibit better coping mechanisms and reduced psychological distress. Our events are intended to build community. This was a recent egg hunt we did for our Easter brunch. Our events average around 40 people per event. So by design, we bring families together with other families who understand their journey. It's a common theme hearing families talk about how important this is. They may not have the same medical condition, but they get it. They speak the same language. One of the most powerful moments is when we're at an event and we see a mom's eyes light up when she meets another family who has a child with the same condition. There's an instant bond. Something else happens too. They get a glimpse of hope when they see that child who has completed treatment or just is older than their child. We had an event where a mom met another mom whose older son had the same heart defect as her young 16-month newly diagnosed son. She said that she couldn't believe that the older boy was running around playing like he was. She said she couldn't envision her son being that active with that medical condition, and it gave her a renewed sense of hope. Many of our Hope Kids events are private, only for Hope Kids families. So we create an environment where they feel safe and accepted. They're not exposed to germs from the general public. They're not stared at because she's in a wheelchair or he's bald or a child has a feeding tube. At Hope Kids events, it's a place where everyone belongs and everyone is accepted. One of our Hope Kids dads shared with me that his daughter is used to fading away and not being noticed when she goes out in public, actually. But at Hope Kids events, she feels like a celebrity, like the red carpet has been rolled out for her. It's a special moment, he said, very impactful, and it makes us feel normal again. That's a kind of a common theme I hear from families, is that they feel normal again. Some families have stayed home after a diagnosis for months at a time with the fear of going out. And they finally get enough courage knowing that it's a Hope Kids event where it's a safe and accepting environment and there's a supportive community around them. Chris is a Hope Kids mom, and she described the thought process and experience of her first Hope Kids event. She wrote, "Like many parents, the day came and the exhaustion and doubt set in. Were we ready for this? Is there Hope Kid Bentley ready for this? Do we have everything? I mean, everything we could possibly need in case something goes wrong. How close is the ER in case things don't go well? What would it be like? Do we look like we haven't slept in 4.5 years? Because we haven't. Do we even know how to people anymore? What do we even say? I vividly recall asking my husband if we should even go as we got on the freeway. Then I remember both of us taking a deep breath and muttering, this is exactly what we need and we can't hide at home forever. The moment we walked in, I immediately knew. Leanne, another Hope Kids mom, greeted us with a hug and the kindest, most encouraging words. She told us their story and how they felt the same way going to their first event. She said, being a Hope Kids family means that for the first time, you're accepted where you are in that moment. No more fake it till you make it. We're all in the same boat and we're right here by your side all the way through. I just think that's such a great picture of what Hope Kids is. And I read that because I think it's so important to hear kind of firsthand from what a family experiences. I've got a short video here that I want to show you of another Hope Kids family. It's actually Leanne, who Chris referenced in that letter. And for you sports fans, it's a little bit dated, so excuse that. But just know that our program and the impact we have never goes out of date. Let's see if we can do this.
There's no easy way to put that your child has a life-threatening illness that has no known cure.
Cystic fibrosis, it's a daily grind. My boys have a very rare form of cystic fibrosis. And so they will use a vest or an airway clearance system, and it helps loosen up their lungs.
When we got the diagnosis for our boys, there was sorrow, there was anger, there was disbelief, and a lot of sadness.
It was awful. It was awful. Hope Kids actually became a life preserver for us.
HopeKids is a program for families that have a child with a life-threatening medical condition. We provide an ongoing calendar of events for the family to attend. It's 100% free for all of our events, for all our families to be able to attend those. Concerts, live theatre, movies. We do sporting events, the zoo, the circus, the state fair. The list just goes on and on.
This is an event that was provided by Hope Kids. We went to a Timberwolves game. I got to meet Kevin Love and got to hang out with the Timberwolves. I remember one time where my mom took me to school a little late, and we went right past the school, and I was really confused.
You are going fishing with Glenn Perkins, a pitcher of the Minnesota Twins. What? Yep. Oh my gosh! Yep, thanks to Hope Kids.
It was one of my best days of my life.
Lord, thank you for this day, and we thank you for Hope Kids.
Hope Kids is priceless. Hope Kids presents awesome activities for my kids to be kids.
I love that video. So Hope Kids is a community of families who have a child with a life-threatening medical condition. We say once a Hope Kid, always a Hope Kid, because people's journeys continue beyond their treatment, and there's opportunity to share hope. For some, treatment is effective, and a cancer diagnosis turns into remission. And that's a powerful thing for someone to see who's coming to a Hope Kids event who's newly diagnosed. We can facilitate these opportunities for families to connect and to share resources and to offer hope. And for others, the treatment isn't effective, or there isn't a treatment, and a child's life ends way, way too soon. get through that. So the grief is unimaginable. You know, when parents spend their child's life just committed to preserving and fighting for that child's life. They're surrounded by, their schedules are filled with doctor appointments, their entire child's life. They're surrounded by caregivers and appointments and treatments, and all that goes away after a child passes. So the grief and the isolation that sets in is heavy, but HopeKids remains. This is a community that embraces families and continues to support, love, and share opportunities to get for families to get out and to be with others, even others who have lost a child. I think we have about 100 families that have lost a child that are part of HopeKids still. Our community extends beyond our families to a broader community of people who have a heart for the families that we serve. At the heart of it is our staff. And HopeKids is a national organization with 7 chapters. Minnesota is one of the largest, along with Arizona, where HopeKids began in 2001. HopeKids Minnesota is about 19 years old now. I've been blessed with 2 amazing coworkers, Brianna and Ariel. Ariel's here. Hi, Ariel. Together, we have a cumulative of 26 years together. I've been with HopeKids for 12. I think this is right. Brianna's for 8, and Ariel for 6. And we couldn't do this without the heart and passion that we have to share with other families, to serve other families. Everything we do is about building relationships with families, event partners, volunteers, and donors. HopeKids families reach out to our staff and they share hard news. They invite us into their hospital rooms. They pray with us, we pray with them, and they share good news too. Donors share their hard-earned money to support this organization. Volunteers give of their hard-earned, their precious time, I should say, to show the love and support to our families. And event partners, roll out the red carpet for our families and make them feel special, noticed, and normal. HopeKids is a community built on and dependent upon these faithful and long-lasting relationships. Now I want to share a few important lessons that I've learned through HopeKids. I mean, I've learned a lot about medical conditions and what families have to go through, and the strength and the power of HopeKids in their families' lives, but things that I've learned that kind of relate to more everyday life for all of us. One is what I just explained, is that community is important. Whether it's your faith community like Wooddale, your neighborhood, an interest group. I play racquetball with a bunch of guys, and we've formed a tight community. You just never know where community is going to build. But invest into your community. This is where relationships are established and where hope can grow. I've learned the importance of being gracious. You just never know what someone is going through. I mean, you look at some of these kids, like in that video, the Waterworths, they don't look like they have something going on if you just run into them in the street. So the next time someone cuts you off or makes a noise you don't like or budges in line or, I don't know, or whatever they do, just give them grace. Lead with grace. I just think that is an important lesson to learn. And finally, that hope is important. The author, Lewis Smedes, who I referenced earlier, writes that hope is to our spirits what oxygen is to our lungs. But sometimes our hope can run out. He continues by saying that if we lose hope, we are dead inside. So it's important to recognize this, and that's both for ourselves and in others. When we notice that someone has run out of hope, I think we can step in and be an agent for hope. Offer a kind word, point out a silver lining, point out a strong characteristics of somebody, bring a meal to somebody, just pay a compliment and notice them and be there for others when hope fades away. I'll close with one story here of how a HopeKids mom, Pat, has taught her daughter, her strangers, her family, and me how to be an agent of hope. Pat would tell me stories of outings that she would have with her daughter, Maddie. I'll show you this picture because I love it. But this is Maddie. This is at a trunk or treat event. Just don't mind the guy who's dancing there, which is me. But Maddie's life was full. She had pediatric infantile onset metachromatic leukodystrophy, MLD for short. It's a rare inherited disorder that affects the white matter of the brain, causing progressive damage and neurological dysfunction. The late infantile form is the most common, typically starting between 12 and 20 months of age, with progressive loss of motor and cognitive skills and death usually occurring by age 5. Maddie was nonverbal and confined to a wheelchair. She had fluids and oxygen hooked up all the time. She had nursing care 24 hours around the clock. And Pat would always make an effort to doll Maddie up. She'd always look pretty. She'd always paint her nails. And as you can imagine, it takes a lot to get Maddie out of the house. And so they'd go to church and they'd go to errands and HopeKids events. And while they're out, as you might imagine, they got a lot of stares. And rather than getting upset, Pat would embrace this. She would engage and help with others and help them to understand Maddie. She'd point out her nails. She'd pay compliments to Maddie and to others and make the interaction fun, comfortable, and approachable. Maddie has since passed, and she lived much longer than expected. She lived to 25 years old. And Pat gave her a good life. And Maddie's life has touched many during her life, and it still continues to touch many lives today. Now, Pat and her daughter and her grandkids make a competition out of this about paying forward or being an agent of hope. And they have a competition when they go to Target to see who can pay the most compliments to people, to the strangers in the store. I just love it. And I think it's such a gift. So no matter your situation, you can always provide a little compliment, a little recognition, and who knows what it leads to. I think it leads to providing hope. And together we can all transform lives and restore hope. So thank you so much for being here. If you have any interest in getting involved with HopeKid or learning more, you can go to our website at hopekids.org. We have volunteer opportunities. We have prayer warrior opportunities. We have an amazing opportunity now for donations to be doubled through May. But it's a community effort, and I just hope that maybe you're touched by what you heard today. So thank you. I can take questions.
Awesome. Man, Brian, I love you, and I love your spirit. I love seeing a director who has worked since 2013 in an organization, and the tears are real, and that's beautiful, and it speaks of just how authentic you are as a leader for this organization, and there's nobody better to do that. And so I know that there's some questions out there, and if you're new, again, we do bring the mic because people are watching online, and we want them to be able to hear whatever it is that you're asking. And so if you've got a question, just put your hand up, and I will come your way and be able to answer some questions. Yeah, we'll start over here.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing these stories. It's got to be hard. How do the families find you?
Good question. Primarily through our relationships with the hospitals and child life specialists. More and more now, there's affinity groups for families, and so a lot of our families will share about HopeKids, either anecdotally or directly ask families to join as well. So, but we do have good relationships with all the children's hospitals here in Minnesota.
That's great. Larry?
Quick question. Have you ever thought about expanding to people who have a continuous problem like diabetes or for the younger ladies who have an eating problem that seem to haunt them the rest of their lives? Those are long-term issues. But have you ever thought about going into that realm?
Yeah, we've had a lot of people inquire about that, and you know, we are good about it. We're very focused on our mission, and we've kept that lane, you know, and so I wish we could expand to so many other people. We have 1,700 families. I don't know if I mentioned that. 1,700 kids right now. So our you know, as we grow, it's a challenge to continually offer things to families. So we're focusing on this population. But, yeah.
1,700 families and how many employees?
3.
3, yeah, come on.
Yeah,
I mean, that's unreal. So
we're very lean.
Heroic work on that. Yeah, great job. I'm glad that you're focused. All right, somebody else? Question? So you think about the ambassador of hope. I love that picture, just kind of, or an agent of hope, I think is the term that you used. There's just so many ways that I think that's just applicable in our day-to-day lives. When I think about the woman who lost her kid, kind of your last story, has she kind of talked, she's kind of in a competition, right, to keep doing that and keep making that happen. Can you expand just a little bit more on her story, like how that's impacted her? I mean, what do you think it is about her that has made her be able to be so strong after losing a child? To continue to be that
and it
person?
was throughout Maddie's journey. Pat's one of these special women in my life and in the world. I don't know. I think, Maddie was adopted at a young age and perfectly healthy when she was adopted, and, was like 2 years old when the symptoms started to show. I got to know Maddie and Pat well into where that picture was. So I don't know her journey necessarily, but I just know that, I still keep in touch with her. Maddie died a couple years ago, and there's just, one of the things that Maddie always loved rocks, and they paint rocks, and so I had a friend build a shed for Pat, and there's shelves of all these different rocks, and that's a story that just compounds, and this ripple effect through people's lives and the community is profound. So I don't know what it is. I think she's got a spirit within her that loves to see good and to connect with other people. But yeah, it's there's throughout these stories, there's so many families who you could give up on your kid pretty easily, and there's so many people that fight for their kids' lives and do so much to give them a good life and their family a good life, and they are rewarded exponentially by these children. And whether they can talk or not, there's communication that comes through their eyes, and it's touched people's lives. And so, you're seeing it here today.
What are some of your biggest volunteer needs right now? You mentioned that you can go to the website, see how you can get involved. Again, I'm blown away that you're 1,700 families and 3 employees.
Yeah, it is a lot. We have a well-oiled machine. Event partners, I mentioned them. Those are people and organizations in the community that help us put on an event. So if there's a group of volunteers that do something, they take the ball and run with it and plan all the things, and so we get the families there. So there's not a whole lot of stress on us as a staff to do those details. So that's one. We check families in because these are private events, and we want to make sure it's just our families, and so volunteers will go to these events and check people in. So we're not going to 450 events. We couldn't do that. But so those are a couple of things. We have prayer warriors, and I think prayer is the foundation of all of this. And so Ariel sends monthly emails out, their prayer list compiled of prayer requests from our families. So they're real-time prayer requests. So those are just a couple of things. But we can always find other things.
Somebody else? Question? Yeah, right back here.
Hey, thanks for speaking today. I don't know about HopeKids before I heard about this, so I came. But before that, I didn't. Is it faith-based organization, and do you reach families outside of the Christian faith? Is it open to everyone?
Yes, our guiding principles are biblically based. That is our motivation for what we do. We're not affiliated with any other organization, and we accept anybody and everybody. So, it's through things like praying for people in the hospital or offering prayer through, through communication, like for these, when we send out notifications for prayer warriors, that we build relationships with these families and an opportunity to show Christ's love. Yeah.
Fantastic. Anybody else? If not, Brian, thank you for coming here. So you got a couple brochures you put on the table.
Yep.
So one of them was talking about kind of a match and you, like every great director of an organization, you totally soft sold that. So I'm going to sell it for you. All right. So There is a match. If you're a new donor to Hope Kids through the end of May, that gift will be doubled, right?
That's right, yep.
Yeah, and that is not insignificant.
No.
And again, when I think about an organization that does what they do, and I've known about Hope Kids for years, again, having seen it in the life of kids at my church, and not just the kids. I mean, it was really about the families. It's about mom and dad and the brothers and sisters who are having to live with the fact that there's this terminal illness in many cases, right? And sometimes the parents' attention has to move toward one kid, and the others maybe don't feel as much. And so I think about the brother in my case who was as blessed by Hope Kids as his brother, who we kind of think is being the intended recipient. What this organization does is incredible with just 3 kids. And so I just want to encourage you, pray about it, but maybe that would be something that you'd be willing to support as well. And there's a card that has a QR code on your table that's just about how you can donate to this really worthy organization. You guys do a golf tournament every year. If you're a K-fan listener, you do hear about Hope Kids because the common man, Dan Cole, talks about it all the time, right? Because he's part of that golf tournament. But but just so appreciate you. And as always, our speakers are willing to hang out for a little bit afterwards. So if you've got some questions you didn't want to ask in front of the group, I know that some people, this microphone gets a little intimidating. By all means, you are welcome to talk to Brian. And we'd love to see you back in 2 weeks. Very different topic, Grand Canyon. Here we go. We're going to do our little travel show in a couple weeks, and you're going to love, love, love that. Would you give Brian a hand as he goes? And thank you for joining us this week. God bless you. Great to see you.